Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! Here goes the mother! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and sitting right next to me is my brother Tommy. How's it going, Tommy?
What's up, y'all?
And once again, joining us virtually is our good brother from Pro Wrestling 101 on Instagram. It's our boy Richard. How's it going, Richard?
Hey, yo.
Nice.
Chico. Dude, I'm getting such Hall and Nash vibes from Richard right now.
Totally.
Oh, my God.
A little foreshadowing our Impact review tonight. So
You're just missing a toothpick right now.
yeah. Once again, thank you again to all the Kliqsters out there for tuning in to this week's episode of In The Kliq. As always, remember to subscribe to In The Kliq on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at In The Kliq. That way, whenever we post an update of some sort, you'll be the first to know. And please subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm all caught up. All of our show highlights are there on YouTube. So please pick and choose one you want to listen to there, and please share as well. So here we are, end of the week. And as always, we're going to run down all of our highlights from this week in TV. And if you missed it, the last episode I did with Philip, we went ahead and did AEW Dynamite, and we went ahead and covered Monday Night Raw, because by the time we were recording, we were like, let's just go ahead and jump into get our Raw coverage out of the way. So tonight, we're going to talk Impact Wrestling, NXT, and SmackDown. So we got 3 shows to get through, so a lot of stuff to talk about there. And let's kick off our show like we always do with some clickbait news. And Richard, actually, before we start recording tonight, some breaking news in the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah, home breaking news.
I like what you did there.
Apparently, a crazed fan broke into the house of Sonya Deville, armed with a knife, plastic zip ties, duct tape, and mace. Luckily, Sonya had a home security system that went off and gave her time to run away and call 911. And when the police got there, the guy was still in the house. So thank God no one was injured, hurt, killed, whatever. And they caught the guy because, my God.
God, that is scary. So, yeah, I was kind of reading up on it a little bit beforehand as well. So, yeah, this guy who's been stalking Sonya Deville, apparently he's been playing this for the last 8 months. I mean, God.
Yeah, he's been stalking her on social media as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he, I guess it'd be early this morning. So Sunday morning around midnight, he finally made his move to her house, and I guess was coming through the back patio area and like cut a hole in the screen and was making his way in. And then luckily she had an alarm that went off, and that alerted the authorities to come arrest him. And so luckily she didn't have to actually deal with this guy. And yeah, once the police arrested him, as you said, he had all this stuff on him, the knife, the zip ties, mace. I mean, God, that's scary. Just thinking about, that's a deadly combo right there as far as trying to kidnap her and keep her as a hostage somewhere. So I'm so happy to see that she was not harmed in all this. And I'm glad that the authorities caught him. Hopefully send this guy away for a long time and keep her, she, can be protected from all this. But Richard, I'm happy to see that she's okay, but if you're in Sonya Deville's shoes, what do you do next? Do you move? Do you get out? I've never been stalked or anything like that. And of course I don't want to, but I mean, when this happens, I'll be afraid to go home for a while, or I want to stay somewhere else, or I'll be trying to hurry up and pack my things and get out of there.
Well, I think considering she was able to get out the way she did, I would say maybe if you've got a fence or a wall, maybe just put some barbed wire or some spikes on top of that, because it sounds like her house was well protected to the point of she had her time to get out and call 911. So,
yeah. Well, and the other
plus,
thing,
I mean, look, she's she has legitimate MMA training, so it's like, had the guy got to her, I think she probably could have handled herself, but luckily it didn't have to get to that.
and that too, I was thinking about that too. She's a trained MMA fighter. She's a badass, hair up, square up mentality. I would love to see, she probably would have thrown down and knocked the S out of this guy. So this guy, not very smart to go after Sonya Deville. She's a badass in her own right. So, but nonetheless, like I said, obviously very scary situation. We're glad to see Sonya Deville is okay, and hopefully this guy is going to be locked up for a long time, and hopefully she can move on from this dramatic event pretty fast. So nonetheless, and she has bigger things to worry about. She's got her hair on the line at SummerSlam, which we'll get into a little bit later on this episode with our SmackDown review. And next up, another thing, Richard, that between you, Tommy, and I, we're very excited to hear some news about the WWE Network this week as far as some new programming coming to the network.
Yeah, we got a little taste of it. A couple of shows. WWE Network's acquiring some of the Evolve, West Side Extreme Wrestling from Germany, Progress Wrestling, and Insane Championship Wrestling from England. So I don't know about you guys, but I got a chance already to check out the WXW Femme Fatales 2019 show, women's tournament. Very, very good.
I've not had a chance to tune in. I mean, just between being at the station earlier today, editing some stuff, getting that out there for everyone, to some latest episodes to get out there for everyone. But I mean, I'm excited. Obviously, Evolve, and we talked about them not too long ago. Obviously, they're kind of in a little bit of a situation as far as their what's their future hold for them post this pandemic. But nonetheless, Evolve has had a great working relationship with WWE and NXT specifically,
as well as Progress.
Yeah, so Evolve, I mean, a lot of just current stars on the NXT and WWE roster has come through Evolve at one point or another. So having access to their library for the WWE Network, it's great. So if you're a fan of someone you see on NXT or Raw or SmackDown, you can go back and look at some old matches with them on Evolve, and even Progress. So that's the big independent promotion overseas.
A lot of more Walter matches on through Progress.
Yeah,
as well.
there's a ton.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the great thing is, I mean, unfortunately, NXT UK is not doing any shows right now. So I know they've been kind of doing like best ofs. And Richard, you brought it up, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, as far as some of the NXT UK superstars, they'll like film themselves, or they'll do these video packages, explain some of their favorite matches, and then they'll show those matches cut to it. So they're kind of doing like these best of shows, these highlight episodes. And I mean, it's a good way to fill time, since they're not able to actually do create new shows, record new shows.
Yeah, if you're missing out on Pete Dunne right now, you could just watch Progress.
Yeah, and you got to imagine, because all, with exception to Evolve at the moment, WXW, Progress, and ICW, they don't have any money coming in right now because they're not running any shows. So this is a great way for them to make some money and gain some exposure, some heavy exposure. So
yeah, I wonder how this works. Does WWE, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys know, but like, did they just flat out buy the rights to the video library? Are they renting it, or these companies are loaning it to them for the time being, and they're paying like a monthly fee to get it? I would just kind of love a little bit more of the business side of things. But what I'm getting at, hopefully this is long term. They're all going to stay there on the network for a long time for us to tune in. And
yeah, I would assume that they have 4 shows on there right now. I'd assume that they purchase those, or maybe a few more than 4. But you'd have to imagine that WWE is not going to rent anything; they're going to own it.
Or I wonder if for them, like moving forward, once these promotions are able to start putting on shows again, anytime they do a show, will their matches immediately get put up on the network right afterwards? Or will they do live like their own pay-per-views, because I'm sure a lot of them do probably monthly shows, so we'll be able to watch those monthly shows live on the network. I'm just kind of curious moving forward, these new partnerships that WWE Network has with these 4 new promotions or independent promotions, that this is going to lead to more opportunity for these, when the shows start running again, we can tune in and watch live since we can't be there in person per se. So that's what I'm getting at. Is I think this is a really cool opportunity for us wrestling fans. Is the WWE Network in many ways can evolve into just a wrestling network in general, that they have not only all the old stuff from obviously WWF, WCW, NWA stuff that they bought the rights to, but just all these independent shows that they can watch. And so if a company, I know there's Independent Wrestling Network or IWTV or something, and a lot of indie promotions put their shows up on there, and that way people can watch it that way. But the WWE Network,
Fight does as well. The Fight Network will have like sometimes it's a segment, sometimes it's a match, sometimes it's a show, but we've got APW on there, a local promotion, and you can find a bunch of free stuff there as well. So
I'm just thinking it'd be cool moving forward for these promotions, once they're able to do shows again, that they could put their shows live on the WWE Network so we can tune in live, or whenever they have a show and it's done, they can upload it right after to the network and we can watch it. So I just think moving forward, this could be, like you said, great exposure. So we can watch these old episodes right now, and then once these shows or these companies start running shows again, there'll be great promotion for them. These are like just big commercials for them. And also, like you said, a lot of the superstars that are doing good things, like Drew McIntyre, you can go, or even Walter, you can go and watch some of their older matches in these promotions. So if you're a fan of a particular wrestler and maybe they're not getting enough screen time right now live in the real world,
or like I said, Pete Dunne too.
Yeah, they can go and watch some of their older body of work and just, have some stuff to watch there. So I think that's really cool. Overall, I'm really excited. So when I get some free time, whenever that is, I'll have to check out. I think even Tommy, you were telling me Drew McIntyre, they have like a best of Drew McIntyre.
Oh yeah.
Best of Walter matches up there.
Oh, yeah.
So at some point I got to tune in. I think they even got like a Timothy Thatcher versus Walter match up there as well.
They do.
So there's a lot of great stuff.
They do.
So I'm very excited to tune in, and yeah, it'd be great promotion for everyone involved.
So yeah.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this week in pro wrestling. First things first, let's jump into Impact Wrestling. And as always, we'll give kind of like initial thoughts, and then we'll run through the highlights from the episode. So, Richard, I'm going to throw it to you in this one. So, what was just kind of what was your initial takeaways or initial thoughts on this week's episode of Impact Wrestling?
Personally, I was not a fan of this week's episode of Impact Wrestling. I thought the highlight of the show was Motor City Machine Guns and the North promo video. Mm-hmm. Everything else I could have done without this week. I hate to say it because, there have been things that we've liked on the last couple of weeks since we started watching.
Yeah.
This week fell short for me. There's a lot more goofy stuff, and feels like they're doubling down on that. And I just can't. Eddie Edwards is not a world champion to me. He's a mid-card guy at best. Mm-hmm. So him and Brian Myers was just kind of there.
Yeah, to end the show for the night, it was the main event, but it was like, it's all right. Yeah, I'm with you. And we were talking a little bit off the air. I think here we are. It's been a few weeks now post Slammiversary. I think the dust has settled. The honeymoon is over. Whatever analogy you want to use here. I think what we've seen like last week and this week, this is pretty much the Impact Wrestling we're going to get here on out. They revealed and announced all their signees, free agent signees to Impact Wrestling. So we kind of know which former WWE stars are now over with Impact, and we're still very curious to see what they're going to be, how they're going to be used moving forward. And it's like I said, I still want to be optimistic to see what happens. I know this week they had another round of tapings, and they filmed that next couple weeks episodes. So was it next week on the 18th and 25th? It's a 2-night Access TV exclusive Emergence. It's like Impact Wrestling's version of a pay-per-view, but on cable TV. So I would expect it's going to be very high quality pay-per-view level matches. And this week was kind of like the go-home show for those particular matches. So we're going to see a lot of great matches, hopefully next week and the week after. But yeah, I'm with you. This episode feels a little flat with me. It's kind of like they do half the matches in the Impact Zone in the ring, and then the other half is at the Wrestle House right now. And I'm kind of getting a little burnt out of the Wrestle House.
Would you say the show would be easier to watch if it was the Wrestle House thing was a 10-minute segment? Because right now, it feels like that's half of the show, and it's sprinkled throughout the show.
Yeah,
like it's not like this is the 10 or 20 minutes cut out for this. It's like, no, this is mixed in at the beginning,
Wrestle House
mixed in the middle, mixed in the second hour, and it's just like, fuck, I can't watch this crap.
It's really testing my patience right now.
Yeah, it's testing all of our patience right about now. No, I'm with you, Richard. I feel like it's taken up way too much time on each episode the last few weeks. But I think, like what we talked about last week, I think this is their way of getting extra matches in to fill up time that they couldn't get done at the actual Impact Zone. So I don't know how much time they're allowed in the facility would they actually do their main matches. But if you're taping them, why not tape a couple extra matches there? I don't know, like I said, if they're limited on time and they're like, okay, I would love to know kind of behind the scenes. Who knows? I'm just guessing.
If they're limited on time, they are not using their time to the best of their ability.
That's true. Who knows? Maybe while they're filming matches at the Impact Zone, they're also doing stuff at Wrestle House. So the roster is kind of like divided in half, and like they're maximizing. All right, this group, you're at the Impact Zone. You got your set of storylines and matches set up here. The rest of you, you're over at the Wrestle House. And that's something we said a couple weeks ago. Wrestle House just feels like all the leftover people on the roster who don't have a main big storyline going on right now. So it's just a way of giving them some TV time since they have no other major programs. But I'm with you. I'm just getting a little burnt out as far as just how goofy it is. And it's just kind of taking me out from some of these really competitive matches that are going on Impact. So, I'm with you. It's like, okay, if you're going to do this, cut down on it. Give me just maybe one good segment. That's it.
Yeah. This is what I liked. This is why I'm such a big fan of the NWA.
Yeah.
Because with Impact and AEW, there's too much silliness or goofy gimmicks or shit I don't care about. Mm-hmm. And like the stuff that's happened in NWA is like the question mark. It was not something that should have gotten over, but that small crowd got it over.
Yeah.
And, now it's great. It's not like they were forcing it. It was just kind of, we're going to try this. It was probably going to last for a week or two. And then it just got over the second week so big. So
it just merely happened by accident.
Yeah, but it doesn't consume the whole show. And that's an hour show that had more matches than this episode of Impact or the previous weeks that we've watched in 2 hours.
I was going to say, NWA Power.
I don't qualify the Wrestle House matches as real matches at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're very obviously goofy, and they're very much, you got to suspend your disbelief and really fall for kayfabe here to really believe these matches as legit matches. But I'm with you. It's like they're short, but they're goofy, and it's just, it's not super believable, and it kind of takes me out of it, especially when the Impact Zone has these more top-of-the-line competitive matches. And so I'm with you. Like, either do, like, a quick, short segment of, like, what's going on in the household, and then maybe the next segment is the match itself, and then that's it. Move on. Call it a night from the Wrestle House.
Yeah, it's like putting too many sprinkles on your ice cream. It's like there's more sprinkles than ice cream at this point. So.
Yeah, totally. And I'm with you. It's they got a very talented roster. They got a very young, upcoming green roster in many ways. And we've talked about this before with the mixture of the veterans that they just signed, especially for the ones from WWE. You think it's going to be a great matchup of veterans and young guys going at it. Hopefully the veterans will help put over some of this talent. And even like, real talk, maybe behind the scenes when they're not filming or in the locker room, the older guys can spread their knowledge or pass on their knowledge to the young talent and really help them, with their craft and just make them better performers overall. And so hopefully, what's the old saying? all tides rise as ships or something. I know I'm butchering it, but anyway, it does that way they all can help each other become a better roster and develop a better program or product for Impact Wrestling. So I still want to be hopeful that things are going to be good. We'll watch Emergence over the next couple weeks, and hopefully these pay-per-view level matches are going to knock it out of the park and hopefully kind of really just set Impact Wrestling some good momentum moving forward. So, also from the night, we saw EC3 cut a promo, pretty much warning Moose he's coming after him. Like, Moose was walking down the hall, I saw EC3 video play. All right, I guess that's cool. All right, it looks like EC3 and Moose are going to go after each other for the TNA World Championship. So, good for them. Let's see. We also saw Heath Slater, or excuse me, just Heath Barr.
Let's go back for just 2 seconds.
Okay.
So EC3's doing these control your narrative things, right? Yeah. Do you see a character difference between the EC3 here and the EC3 that was in NXT and WWE? Did WWE do anything to his character that damaged or changed it drastically? No. So why is he going and saying control your narrative? It's just a gimmick they gave him. There's just so many little things that it's continuity that, like, if you're paying attention, it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. He was not used in WWE. He was used all right in NXT.
Yeah.
But, like, they didn't change his character at all. Like, he wasn't used. So, like,
yeah.
There is no narrative when it comes to what he's done in between his Impact stay the last time and his Impact stay now. So it's just kind of like, what is he talking about?
He kind of comes off bitter. It just...
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense, like, in terms of what he's saying. Like, his message is nothing. And I don't think there's going to be a grand reveal to anything because he's just going to keep saying what he's saying every week.
Well, I guess I wonder if when he says control your narrative, is it he's trying to rewrite the past, mostly just his time in TNA/Impact and not so much NXT and WWE. But even still, there's not much to rewrite when it comes to his time in WWE because when he got called up, he wasn't being used much over the last, the majority of 2019. So it just feels kind of weird that he's come back to quote his roots and he wants to control the narrative, but in order to change his future he has to change his past. Like, it's getting kind of confusing. Like,
yeah,
what's the point? Like, he was successful.
It feels like something you would give to someone else. Like, it doesn't feel like it should come from him. It should come from someone, I don't know.
Well, okay, how about
a sillier gimmick?
Like, it fits perfectly for someone like Drew McIntyre, who was supposed to be the chosen one, but kind of more or less a jobber / part of the 3-man band. So he was just not valued anymore. And he can easily say, I want to control my narrative. I want to come back to WWE and prove the haters wrong. That makes sense, that type of motivation. But for EC3, he was a former world champion. So he's had a good run in Impact Wrestling or TNA. So why does he want to change his past? If anything, just build off it and prove that he wasn't, and prove to the haters he wasn't, why he shouldn't have been a waste in WWE, if anything. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of confused on this whole storyline he's trying to go for, and, like, he has to go attack people from his past. And it's like, well, no, you were a former world champion. You were the best in that promotion at one point. So if everyone should be coming after you now, because if we beat you, we can say, yeah, we beat a former world champion. We're just as good as him. So, yeah, I'm a little confused.
It feels, I think part of the issue with this and the other company is I don't think wrestlers need to have as much power as they give them. We saw the same thing happen in WCW. It didn't happen in ECW because they had one person to bounce things off of. Mm-hmm. So I don't think anyone's bouncing. I think when they bounce something off of someone, they're just saying, yeah, let's try it out. And it's like, did you stop and think about it?
Yeah. It's almost like he said, I'll sign with you guys, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like this. I'm going to try to prove everyone that I'm better than what you know me for. But it's like, well, dude, you had a great run.
Yeah, the pitch sounds great, but can you execute it? You know, because even again, you bounce back to NWA. You had Dave Lagana, Billy Corgan, Nick Aldis was in a position of power. Yeah. So there was people to go to.
Yeah,
and it's like, this is just, I just feel like you've just let people loose here.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It makes you kind of wonder if Impact Wrestling, since they are, a smaller company, and behind the scenes, I'm sure they got a much smaller staff. And so, therefore, in some ways, yeah, maybe the prisoners are running the prison in some ways. And they're just kind of telling whoever, it's like, all right, I'm going to go out there, whoever's booking the match or something, like, I'm going to go out there and do this. And they're like, okay, cool, go, by all means, do it. So, I don't know. Like I said, I really I'm still going to tune in Impact Wrestling. I still want to see how this new era is going to move forward. Emergence is going to have some great matches being booked, and it's pretty stacked. So hopefully the next 2 weeks, instead of episodes of Wrestle House, we're just going to get more matches in the Impact Zone, because it looked like some of the teasers they were setting up for the next 2 weeks, there's a lot of matches, and hopefully they give them proper time in the ring. And then, therefore, yeah, no reason to have new episodes of Wrestle House. But I was just going to say real quick, we saw Heath with a commercial. Pretty much he bought some airtime just to tell people to use a hashtag, right? I think it was, of Tommy, do you have the hashtag by chance? Let me see. Let me look for it. Heath for Impact, hashtag Heath for Impact. So he's just trying to, I guess, encourage people to kind of let people know that you want to see him with Impact Wrestling. So it's very similar to like the free agent thing a few years ago when he wasn't picked up by either Raw or SmackDown. So he's just fighting for a roster spot. So I enjoyed the commercial. It was kind of goofy, kind of reminded of something you would see on NWA Power a little bit. So it was great. So if we see more of those for the next few weeks, I'm cool. I'll dig that. I think it's more entertaining. It's straight to the point than Wrestle House. So
yeah, I mean, look. To we don't mean to bash Impact at all.
No, not at all.
Those of you listening. So there are plenty of things we do think are good at Impact, and I love what Eric Young is doing. Period.
Yeah.
I think their tag division is great, and I think we all think Deonna Purrazzo is great. So
absolutely, yeah, you're right. There are still a lot of great things. I mean, obviously, we're trying to be critical of some of the negative things that we're seeing right now, and as you said, like I think even the Good Brothers, I'm starting to dig, their rivalry with Fulton and Ace Austin. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to their eventual matchup next week on Emergence. Eddie Edwards, so the main event, he had the open challenge, and what he was calling out Eric Young, but instead Brian Myers comes out, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins in WWE. Yeah. And he comes out and he's wearing, once again, the blue and orange outfit, what I think is so ugly. It's New York Mets colors, yeah. but it's all shiny now. It's like that, it's not like necessarily spandex. It's kind of like that
chrome.
Pleather, whatever you want to call it.
It's like a stretchy vinyl.
Yeah, so I'm like, he looked really shiny in the ring. He looked like a real live action figure.
Yeah, he did.
So, the match itself was good. They were kind of both, if I remember correctly, about 50-50 as far as offense to one another. So they were both laying into each other. Brian Myers, hey, I mean, he got to wrestle a pretty extended match that we haven't seen from a long time. Yeah. So kudos to him, and Eddie Edwards eventually got the victory. But I'm with you as far as Eric Young. I think, was it you that said last week he's like the Randy Orton of Impact Wrestling right now? As far as this menacing heel in Impact Wrestling. So, if anything, yeah, we'll keep tuning in to see Eric Young create havoc on Impact. So that's the thing. It's like, okay, EC3, the whole narrative thing, you would think, okay, is he going to start creating havoc on Impact Wrestling? But Eric Young's already doing it in some ways.
Yeah.
So yeah. Eric Young, we're loving what he's doing. The tag team division is amazing. The North, I mean, Ethan Page, God, he's so fun to watch. And what was the other thing you mentioned, Richard? Oh yeah, Deonna Purrazzo. I mean, so like I said, there's still a lot of good things. And so that's the thing. Please, if you're hearing our criticisms right now, don't take it as a sign that we don't like Impact Wrestling.
And I just want to say something on Brian Myers. I just think him coming to Impact, I think it will help him rebuild him as far as, even if he's like a mid-card, I think it's better than what he was doing in WWE.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to see him, maybe work in the X division.
Yeah, I think Brian Myers at this point, as an older veteran, he has a wrestling school in New York as well. So if anything, he can be, I think, a great teacher for the younger talent. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes and who talks to who hangs out with who. But like I said, a guy like Brian Myers, I think with his knowledge, especially his time in WWE, pass it on, pay it forward to the next generation of talent.
Yeah.
I think with whatever knowledge he has and as a teacher, I think it'd be great to help out this the younger people with Impact Wrestling on their roster. So like I said, we want Impact Wrestling to do well, because if more promotions are existing and doing well, it creates more jobs for the wrestlers. It keeps wrestling as a whole just thriving. So that's where we're coming from. It's like we're speaking from our heart here because we want to see them do well. So, like I said, we're excited for the next couple of weeks of these pay-per-view level matches on Access TV. So looking forward to watching that and breaking it down next week. All right, let's jump on over to Wednesday night. NXT took place, and here we are. We're continuing on the road to NXT TakeOver XXX, or NXT TakeOver 30. And
Triple X.
Triple X. It's like getting raunchy here. A little DX action.
Oh, yeah.
So, Richard, just initial thoughts on this week's episode of NXT.
Well, I would like to say welcome back to Vic Joseph.
Yeah.
I was more than pleased to have Vic Joseph back
was I.
on any show. I thought NXT was the best show of the week for matches.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a stacked card. A lot of matches.
It was a stacked card.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Yeah.
The only thing that had me somewhat confused on was, and maybe you guys can help me out, the Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae,
that whole segment. Yeah.
Yeah. As far
I don't know. It was just it kind of fell flat for me, but I was wondering where this is going.
Well, I mean, we've seen them on the build up to In Your House, as far as these segments in their house, and it's more or less like in their minds, you know, they want to be the ultimate couple in NXT and all of pro wrestling, as far as being champions of their respective divisions, the men's and women's. And this week it was Johnny had the ladder, and he was changing a light bulb or something. We saw Doc Hendricks' photo.
Yeah, Michael Hayes.
Off to the side. Yeah. So I think for anything, it's just them kind of reminding themselves that they want to be the best couple in all of NXT, and just
Candice LeRae with her dog, you know.
Yeah, so I think
the story.
Yeah, it's just them, I think, trying to just prove that they want to be the king and queen of NXT.
Right.
So, but I'm with you. Like, this episode was very stacked, and they're really just setting things up for next Saturday's NXT TakeOver 30. I like you, I was very excited to see Vic Joseph back on commentary, especially like, I don't know. I was still kind of bummed when he left Raw. I thought he should have given him more time to kind of prove himself a little bit. And that's the other thing. It's like, okay, I'm if he's not going to be on Raw anymore, yeah, he should be at least on NXT, because there's no reason that Phillips should be doing two shows. He's already the lead commentator on.
And he's just a Michael Cole clone. He's terrible.
Yeah.
He's absolutely terrible.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he's already the host on the A show, Monday Night Raw. So it's like, why is it like a sidekick on NXT? And I love Vic Joseph. I mean, he deserves a job in being on TV.
I think he's great. Well, he was great in NXT UK.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. But and then the other thing too, it's like I miss Nigel. Like, I want Nigel to do the commentary.
I agree.
Maybe Morrow, Vic Joseph, and Nigel could be the 3-man team for NXT. Like, sorry, Beth Phoenix, but I gotta cut her off from that. She doesn't do anything for me per se.
I'd go a step further and say I would have Morrow for pay-per-views.
Okay,
just make him the pay-per-view voice, because Morrow on TV is too much for me sometimes. Like sometimes I'm not being a dick. I'm just saying sometimes he's just so loud, and it feels like he's screaming at me through the TV. But Vic Joseph, who was the guy that was with him and King?
Dio Madden.
Dio Madden. I thought that was a great team, and I don't know why they split that up.
Yeah. Well, I guess Dio, he wanted to actually go back to training and be a wrestler. Now we see him on Raw Underground off to the side, standing there. Yeah. But no, I'm with you. Like, I really like Vic Joseph, and if we get him on NXT, then I think that's better than nothing. So I'm with you there. But like I said, if you're going to make that move, then bring back Nigel as well. Nigel is arguably the best commentator WWE has. God,
he's the best color commentator for sure.
Absolutely. Like, just his enthusiasm, his knowledge as a former pro wrestler, and the way he analyzes matches, and like, you'll see one wrestler do a move or submission hold on another one, and he breaks it down, like why that move at that particular moment is like a really good strategy, and like what that move is doing to the opponent, and like what tendons are being stretched.
And he'll reference what wrestler used to put that move.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he is so great, but like also his energy, especially on a takeover, like NXT takeover to me is such sacred ground, not to copy Imperium, but NXT takeover are arguably the best wrestling pay-per-views going right now. Like, you're going to get the best matches from anywhere in the world there. And
they're never bad. There's never been a bad takeover on the UK side or the NXT Prime.
Exactly. So when these athletes are just laying it all on the line, Nigel calling these matches, it adds a whole nother layer already to competition and stuff. He makes it such a big fight feel. And that's why, like, I'm super bummed that he's not there. I know he's furloughed supposedly. So I just hope, bring him back. Like, I don't know why they have Beth Phoenix doing commentary. I don't know. Is this a favor to Edge or something? Or is this part of the deal why Edge re-signed with WWE? He's like, I'll re-sign, but you got to make sure Beth is a commentator. Like, that's something I always kind of wonder. Not to play conspiracy theorist.
She was doing it for quite a while before that. I think they want a woman doing it. You know, since Renee opted out of doing Raw, I think they like having a woman on commentary, at least on one show. And to be fair, I do think Beth gets better by the month.
True.
You know, when she first started out, it felt like, me and my buddy William would joke about it. It felt like she was a mother that didn't want either of her kids to lose. Oh, but she's so good. Oh no, it's just ugh, cringy. But now she sounds like a wrestler again when she's on commentary.
Yeah. So hopefully, that means maybe she's been practicing. So like I said, I do agree. She has been getting better than when she first started. But nonetheless, I miss Nigel, and seeing Vic Joseph is really great. And I kind of like that idea. Maybe it's a good compromise. Maybe Vic does the week-to-week stuff and Morrow does the big takeovers. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right, so let's go and jump into the actual matches for tonight. So the opening match, Karrion Kross took on Danny Burch. Great hard-hitting match, and obviously Karrion Kross got the victory here. And we saw our boy Keith Lee come out to the ring and pretty much had the contract in hand and says, listen, I went and contacted William Regal, got the contract here. Our match is on for the NXT Championship at NXT TakeOver 30. Need you to sign it. So Karrion Kross signs it, and Scarlett kisses it, hands it back to Keith Lee. Keith Lee opens it up, and boom, big old fireball to the face. Keith Lee falls to the ground in pain. Man, what a great segment right there. Richard, what's your takeaway from that segment?
I thought it was a great segment. I thought it would have been better if Scarlett was in the ring and she threw the fireball.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I did like it because I was surprised how they did it, but I think it would have made her look a little more maniacal to do something like that.
Or mythical, magical, like she had some sort of power.
How did that happen?
Yeah. It adds a whole new layer to her as a threat that.
Yeah. Because if you go back and look at any of the old clips of the Sheik or Jerry Lawler when they did the fireball.
Yes.
It was always just kind of like a casual moment and then boom.
Yeah. So I think for her, it creates that unexpected moment from her. She's just not a pretty face who just, smiles and poses with Karrion Kross, or comes out for the entrance and, does karaoke to the entrance music. So to add this layer to her that she could be an actual threat. Like, if you piss her off, she'll throw fire in your face. I like that. That's a great idea.
But then you're always wondering when she's going to do it again. And she might not ever have to do it again. So
just that fear.
That's kind of the beauty of it. Well, she did it once.
Yeah,
What's to stop her from doing it again?
I'm with you. So that's the thing. So Richard, you brought up a couple flashback moments as far as the Sheik and Jerry Lawler. So Tommy, you were kind of like, Tommy loved this whole segment because in many ways, this is what we talked about in the past. What's old is new, as far as this has been a long, old gimmick in pro wrestling for decades.
An
we
angle,
an old angle. We haven't seen it recently. I haven't done it in a long time. So I think that's why for all of us, we're like, whoa, we haven't seen that in such a long time. I think probably what the last time was maybe Sabu in ECW or something?
I think earlier this year, Sammy Callahan did it to Ken Shamrock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, an Impact.
Well, before we were all watching it again.
Yeah, before we were all watching it again. But
nonetheless, so like I said, what's old is new. So Tommy, so you were telling me off the air a couple of your favorite moments or people who've done the fireball.
Yeah.
So you said, was it Jim Cornette?
Jim Cornette did it to Ron Garvin.
Okay.
That got him a lot of heat. And that got him suspended, actually, for doing that. Which, kayfabe,
He got suspended for the line he used after the fact because he said that Ronnie Garvin lit up faster than the Challenger aircraft when it blew up in the air.
He did.
Man.
And I saw Kevin Sullivan did it to Dusty Rhodes in Florida.
Yeah.
Because Dusty Rhodes was, he was going after Kevin Sullivan. And that's when the debut of Maniac Mark Lewin as the Purple Haze, he came in to attack Dusty Rhodes, and that's when Sullivan threw the fireball in his face in Florida. And Gordon Soley did a great job of selling that whole angle right there. It was terrific if he could find it on YouTube. As well as I saw a clip of the original Sheik, Ed Farhat, doing it to Andre the Giant back in '74.
Man, so yeah, it's a great effect, and especially for like maybe a big baby face, whenever a heel busts out their playbook, it just such as a great dramatic moment because it's fire in the ring and it's a fireball to the face. And so what better way to kind of blind your opponent and get one over on them than using fireball? It's just such a great visual look to it. And Tommy, you were kind of telling me how that trick is actually done.
Well, from what I remember, our mom, she, used to be, she was a beautician, God rest her soul. But she used to give perms, and she had these perm rolling papers. Okay. And I just realized those things are flammable.
Okay.
If you have a lighter or whatever, I think that's what you call one of the things that you can make to make a fireball.
Okay.
And the object is you don't want to throw it. Jim Cornette explained it best. You don't want to throw it because if you throw it, it's like you're throwing like a piece of tissue, like Kleenex tissue or whatever. The object is you're supposed to hide it and then reveal it, present it.
So yeah, you have it in your hand, you have the lighter, and as you're lighting it, you just kind of gradually push forward a little bit. It's like open up your hands and you're revealing, hey, look at this, fireball in my hand.
Yeah.
And that's the effect right there. So it's
really
cool.
There's other ways too, I'll tell you offline.
Oh, really? Okay. Yes,
sure.
Please, if you're listening to this, do not try this at home.
Please.
That's
you
disclaimer.
Not to do it.
Unless you're a professional wrestler or you're a professional that's getting paid to do this, do not do this at home.
Yeah.
Yes, please do not hurt each other. Just watch. Leave it to the professionals on TV to watch it.
Even the professionals screw up sometimes. If you're interested, you should Google what happened to Father James Mitchell's finger when he blew it off.
Oh no! Oh jeez.
Yeah, or it exploded. Sorry.
Yeah.
He
So
blew
please,
up his finger.
Be careful. Do not try this at home. But yeah, it's one of the. Like I said, it doesn't happen all the time in pro wrestling, but when it does happen, it has a great effect. So, nonetheless, okay, going back to Keith Lee, he's in pain, the Medics Cup, and then I was surprised, like the next match was Drake Maverick versus Killian Dane, but it was like split screen the whole time. You see Keith Lee, like trying to walk to the back, and like they were just focusing on him the whole time, the medics surrounding him and the towels on his face, and I'm like, wow, they're giving a lot of screen time for Keith Lee on selling this injury. I was like, did you think that was a little overkill?
I thought it was overkill.
Okay.
Plus, if someone gets burned, you're not pressing your hand on where it was burned.
Yeah.
So
you just got to put a towel on.
So they finally broke away, and then they said he went off into an ambulance to the local hospital. And there's some great photos on NXT's Instagram page. You see Keith Lee sitting in the ambulance with bandage around his eyes. It's a great visual. Like, you gotta check it out.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know about you guys, but I think next week on the Go Home show for NXT before TakeOver, Keith Lee needs to come out, I think, with like, shave off all his facial hair, shave off his eyebrows, just to really sell the fire. Took singed all the facial hair off.
Half of it.
yeah.
Like it's patches.
Yeah.
Like his one eyebrow just has like a little bit left on like one side, and the other one's like mostly gone. And he could say, "Carrion, I'm coming for you. You burned my eyebrows off," or something. I just think really sell that.
Yeah, that
would be great. I'm just saying.
That would work.
And then also, as we saw in the back, with Keith Lee, in pain, waiting for the ambulance to come, we also saw the Undisputed Era make their big return. And I don't think we talked about this last week, but they were really hyping up like a reunion of them.
The boys are back together now. The title's back.
Yeah, but they made it sound like they broke up and they were gone for a long time. But no, it's just one of them was at home, just being safe during the pandemic, and now all four of them are back together inside the Full Sail University.
Yeah.
So yeah, they come running in, they attack Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, and pretty much Adam Cole cut a promo and said, "Yeah, dude, Pat McAfee, I'm coming for you at TakeOver." So, and we talked about all last week about the punt to the head and stuff. So I'm trying to be optimistic. Like, Richard, this is a theme that you really enforced on to me. It's like, listen, you can easily be negative with the state of pro wrestling right now and things not going perfectly as we want to, but nonetheless, just take it for what it is. So I want to be optimistic that Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole is going to be a good match. That's what I'm just saying here. I think for everyone else,
I can thank WCW in the 2000s for that mindset. So
Yeah.
I'm trying
you have to kind of sort through, and it's at the end of the day, it's wrestling. It's a circus. Like,
Yeah.
it's not all matches and moves. Like, I think I was texting you, Tommy, the other day that I wouldn't mind seeing a match with any of the wrestlers today where they weren't using moves past 1990.
Yes.
I was been watching what was it? Superstars of Wrestling, 1992 or 3 or something. I'm just kind of like, God damn, this is better than I remember when I was a kid.
As far as
and it's like nothing's fancy. It's just,
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah, no, I've talked about that in the past on this show. Yeah, there's a lot of old movesets and just style of wrestling from the 80s and even early 90s that I miss.
And the 70s, too.
I mean, even
I miss a DDT as a finisher.
Yeah. And like even this week on Fox FS1 they had the replay of SummerSlam 92 and Bret Hart was on there, or was that last week? But anyway, him talking about the match and breaking it down and just the psychology of it all, it was so fascinating to listen to him talk. But nonetheless, like, the moves he was doing in many ways was very basic, but the strategy involved and the order of events of why he did what he did at certain moments in the match and the storytelling, I was like, wow, like, that is really ring psychology there. And so, like, I mean, I'm so burnt out of everyone doing super kicks now and slaps to the thigh.
What drives me nuts is when you see a match and someone's been working on a leg.
Yeah.
And then they have their comeback and all of a sudden their leg is better.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's when you're supposed to, like, you get that fire, but you're weakened because of the leg.
Yeah.
Like, that's when people, if you go way back, and I know this works now. This is a point in case. If you go back from the guys from the 60s and 70s and that were wrestling into their 80s and into the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch them in their primes, like Bruno Sammartino, what made Bruno Sammartino so over was, like, it wasn't him. It was like Hogan hulking up. It was the fire spot where he's building it up and he's just angry and pissed. And it still works today because you see when the Stooges wrestled the Mean Street Posse on Raw, the crowd goes bananas when, like, Pat and Jerry Briscoe are just throwing punches.
Yeah,
they're not doing anything special, but they got that old school fire that the fans are like, oh yeah, look at them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And listen,
that's lost.
Yeah, and I get it. And listen, I know wrestling has evolved, especially here we are in more present time as far as the popularity of MMA. So I think wrestling has had to evolve to kind of keep up with the times that the presentation we see in mixed martial arts and UFC and how, the real fighting that goes on there. So there's there's some elements of pro wrestling that they just can't do anymore. So like, for example, I used to love when a submission hold was like a sleeper and the ref would raise the arm 1, 2, then the third time bring it up and they keep their hand up and they start shaking and Hulk Hogan will start hulking up. I get it why you can't do that now, because in MMA, the second the opponent doesn't respond to the ref's call, then they got to call it. Even like in boxing, it's a knockout. So I get it why they can't do that anymore, because MMA, it's the second someone doesn't respond, you call the match. So,
but at the same time, it still works. Like, even though it's old school, like you don't have to have a hold on for 20 minutes, right? Like they used to.
Yeah.
But you have something. Every once in a while, you'll see someone that knows how to do this still, like Samoa Joe, and I think it was Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio, and he's got Mysterio in a sleeper hold. And the crowd's getting bored, and they're chanting boring. And he goes, I'll just hold him in here even longer. And he did. He held him in longer till the crowd got angry, and that's when the spot's over.
Okay.
You wait till they get all heated. Like, the old school psychology still works.
Yeah.
It's just not used.
Yeah. So God, this is a great topic that we could probably do for a separate episode of like
we should
pros and cons of things we missed from pro wrestling and wish was still around today. All that stuff. We can get into that another time. But yeah, it's for this episode of NXT, as we saw that move on to Santos and Tyler Breeze. They had a match. A little Breeze was trying to get some revenge after being kidnapped last week by Legado del Fantasma. So we saw that match take place. Santos gets the win. And like I said, I'm digging this faction. And I think with this faction, they're bringing a lot of prestige and honor to that NXT Cruiserweight Championship. So I think that's great. Having a faction surround that championship just elevates the championship as a whole, because it had a bumpy start for the last couple years. Just being delegated to 205 Live or quick little 5-minute matches on Raw and stuff. So I'm glad that it's getting really a nice time to shine every week on NXT. We saw Mia Yim rush back to the Performance Center, Full Sail, after being at the hospital, being there for her boyfriend, Keith Lee. She had a victory over, was Indy Hartwell, is that her name?
Yes.
Okay. So great promo, like she was out of breath. She's like, just really selling just how upset she was to see what happened to Keith Lee. And so just adds to that storyline for the main event match at TakeOver. And then we saw Bronson Reed in a match against Damian Priest. So this is just kind of adding more fuel to the fire, because they're both the qualifiers for that ladder match for the North American Championship at TakeOver. So Richard, your thoughts on this matchup between two big hosses there?
I'll get to that at the end of the show.
Okay, all right. Tommy, how about yourself? What do you think of Bronson and Damian Priest?
I thought it was a good match. Just for them, just going back and forth with throwing punches,
heavy hitting,
and it was just physical, and it was just just a lot of, just Bronson Reed's brute strength. Damian Priest is a big guy himself. Just the way he picked him up, and just there was a moment where he tried to do the moonsault or whatever it was, and he missed, and then Priest, got out of the way, but then we forget that Bronson Reed was, he got up and he capitalized. He just rolled him over and got the pinfall.
Yeah, so a big victory for Bronson and getting some momentum going for their ladder match in a week and a half's time. So I'm not quite sure who could pull off that North American title win at TakeOver, but nonetheless, we're looking forward to that show and reviewing it afterwards. And then we saw Mercedes Martinez, and her partner, what's her name again? I always screw it up. Aaliyah.
The human carpet, Aaliyah.
Yes. And, taking on, oh my God, the small girl, Ricochet's girlfriend, Casey. Oh my God, what's her name?
Catanzaro.
Yeah. And then
Casey Catanzaro.
Yeah. And her partner, oh my God, Kaden. I'm I'm spacing on her name already. So anyway,
Caden Carter.
Yeah, Caden Carter. Yeah, sorry. So pretty, okay match. Martinez got the victory. It just shows how dominant she was, and more or less, Rhea Ripley comes out, and I'm digging this. It's almost like two equals as far as good versus evil, as far as Mercedes Martinez and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley comes in the ring. But she gets jumped, outnumbered there, and then we see Shotzi Blackheart come running in, help her out, make the save, and looks like a nice little partnership going on between Rhea Ripley and Shotzi Blackheart. But Richard, I thought Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox had like a little buddy friendship partnering going on there. So Shotzi, I guess, is becoming everyone's friend now.
Of course, she's got green hair.
Yes. Which, by the way, okay, let me ask you this: she has green hair. Ruby Riott currently has green hair. Like,
save it for SmackDown. Save it for SmackDown.
All right.
I have notes on this.
Okay.
I have notes on this.
Okay.
All right.
So, but nonetheless, Rhea Ripley, Mercedes Martinez. I don't know if it's going to be for Takeover or not, but nonetheless, I'm really excited for this matchup here. They're two big. They're both two badass competitors. I'm looking forward to this matchup when it does take place. And let's jump ahead to the main event. It was a triple threat match. It was the last triple threat match to qualify for the ladder match at Takeover. So it was Kushida and Cameron Grimes and a mystery opponent. The other two guys come to the ring, and the big reveal of that third opponent was the return of Velveteen Dream. He comes out to the ring. We haven't seen Velveteen Dream since he lost to Adam Cole at In Your House, which was a few months ago now. Mm-hmm. Richard, your thoughts on the return of Velveteen Dream?
I was genuinely surprised.
Okay.
I was pleased with it. Cameron Grimes is just so damn entertaining, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a really good wrestler. It is. I think I've said it on here before. It's crazy to me that he was a guy at Impact that you would never know because he didn't have any character there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just so entertaining here. It's hard to imagine that he was like under another name somewhere else and didn't have this.
Yeah.
Cameron Grimes.
I'm just looking ahead to next week's episode of NXT as well. But yeah, no, great match, triple threat. I mean, I know a lot of people were kind of. It's kind of tough to kind of, I don't know how to feel about the return of Velveteen Dream, because obviously during the whole speaking out movement, there were some allegations made about Velveteen Dream and what he did and contacting allegedly.
There's if you look up the guy, the kid who claimed this upon Velveteen Dream, and he's got a public profile on Twitter. It looks like he's a teenager that stirs shit up with people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of an Enzo thing where it's like, I don't know about this, but you go to the guy's page and he's like, just goes around. He's a troll. He's an internet troll. And he got some attention with this one because, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I did see that the guy is available online for, with an open profile. And I was just looking around there. I'm like, my God, like, how did anyone believe this?
Yeah. I know it's a very tough situation because it's like, one side versus another side and allegations and who knows what to believe. And I get that as far as it's tough who to believe in this situation. And I'm not sure if Velveteen Dream had received some form of punishment. I mean, he was off TV for a long time, but I don't know if he's going to get some more follow-up punishment. I don't know what's going to happen with him.
I don't think that if he was guilty of anything, he wouldn't be on TV. There's no chance in hell WWE would let him on TV.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of Velveteen Dream, the wrestler, and so anytime he's not on television, I do miss him. But at the same time, if there's stuff going on in his personal life that's bad, doing bad things, he obviously should not be doing that stuff. So, like I said, unless something they didn't find enough evidence or whatever the case may be. But yeah, the fact that they brought him back on television, maybe they feel like it's okay for him to return. I'm not sure. I mean,
they let people go for less than this.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's on TV tells me that they probably did a thorough investigation because he was gone for a number of weeks.
Yeah. So yeah, well, like I said, I'm sure it's still very much an open book, and if anything changes, of course, we'll find out. But for right now, I'm just glad to see Velveteen Dream back. And he did get the loss here. Cameron Grimes pulled off the big upset, got the victory, and he's going to be in the ladder match. So far,
he's my pick to win it all.
Really?
Yeah.
So we got Cameron Grimes, we got Bronson Reed, we got Damian Priest, and the last 2 spots are going to be filled on this next episode of NXT. It's going to be Finn Balor versus Velveteen Dream, and then also it's going to be Johnny Gargano versus Rich. Is it Rich Holland. So it's
formerly he was Menzies,
yeah. So we'll get the last 2 spots for the ladder match filled up after next week's episode of NXT. So exciting stuff, man. But yeah, very action packed episode of NXT. We got new commentators. We got fireballs. We got Cameron Grimes getting a victory. You got Velveteen Dream back. So a lot of stuff in this episode of NXT. All right, let's move on over to Friday night to wrap up this week in pro wrestling. SmackDown came and went. And Richard, your thoughts on this week's episode of SmackDown?
I thought it was more enjoyable than it looked coming into it.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
because my favorite pay-per-view of the year is the Royal Rumble, because those matches are. I just love the Royal Rumble match, but I don't like battle royals. And the battle royal from this show I thought was actually surprisingly good. So
yeah, it was a women's battle royal or triple brand women's battle royal to figure out the number 1 contender to take on Bayley at SummerSlam. And so we had competitors from SmackDown, female competitors from Raw, and also NXT.
Yep.
However, they only had 2. It was Tegan Nox and Shotzi.
Yep, Shotzi Blackheart.
I was a little disappointed. I thought maybe we get a couple more competitors from NXT.
Well, yeah.
Danny, maybe the reason for the only being 2 is maybe some of them are in Retribution.
So they're busy.
Oh, yeah.
They got other things to do, creating havoc. So we'll talk about Retribution in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. I really enjoyed this battle royal. I thought it was booked very well. It was a little quick, but nonetheless, I enjoyed how it played out. Mm-hmm. It really added to some more storyline, especially like the Riot Squad and the Iconics. They eliminate each other, and so that's going to add to their storyline on Raw, probably moving forward. Mm-hmm. Also, just for the NXT people, I thought they represented very well, and hopefully it just kind of gives the rub to people to tune into NXT to see Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart on a more regular basis. So I think that's always cool when you see people appear on another show. I always think of it as a big promo campaign to remind people, hey, we got this other show. If you like these competitors, you should watch them on a regular basis over on Wednesday night. So I thought that was cool. Tegan Nox was one of the last finalists in the ring, if I remember correctly. And then the other thing too was Bayley and Sasha. They were doing the ring announcing beforehand. They're like, we do everyone else's job, might as well do this too. And I don't know if you guys caught that, but Sasha really quick said, we got to defend the titles at SummerSlam, and they got to defend the women's the women's tag titles at Payback. And there was a rumor there was going to be a second pay-per-view the week after SummerSlam. So I think that kind of more or less confirms those rumors that Sasha and Bayley are going to defend their women's tag titles a week later. So we'll probably get an official announcement pretty damn soon.
I think, didn't Michael Cole reveal it this week?
No, that was about the arena.
Oh, right.
So also, on SmackDown, Michael Cole announces, we know you guys been hearing rumors that we're going to be leaving the Performance Center and putting on shows at a different venue.
Right.
And for anyone, if you listen to our last episode of In The Kliq, we discussed that. The rumor is that WWE is going to be leaving the Performance Center and going to the Amway Center.
Yeah.
The home of the Orlando Magic.
Right.
It's one of the arenas in Orlando.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the home for next week's episode of SmackDown, SummerSlam, and future tapings of Raw and SmackDown from here on out.
Gotcha.
I don't know about TakeOver, if that's going to be the site as well, but we'll wait and see. And the rumors are they're going to get virtual screens, very much like we see in NBA or MLB games so far during this pandemic.
Yeah.
So fans can, I guess, apply and try to be picked to be virtually on the screens around the ring.
I've seen they do it as well for Top Rank Boxing, too.
So I don't know about you guys. Well, the second we find out how we can apply, I think we all should try to apply and be fans and get on the screen there. If our faces could get on SummerSlam somehow, like cheering on the matches or something.
Woo.
hold up a sign or something. I think we all should do that.
Yeah.
Or if any of our listeners, if you get it, please hold up a sign that says you listen to In The Kliq. Please give some extra promotion that way. Anything.
Show us some love.
But so they make the announcement, and then to their surprise, Asuka comes out as one of the last competitors for this battle royal. And so, listen, it was a very much a big surprise because we just assumed Asuka, after beating Bayley on Raw this week, she's going to fight Sasha Banks at SummerSlam for the Raw Championship. But now she comes out and does the battle royal here and ultimately wins it. And now she's going to challenge Sasha Banks also for the challenge Bayley for the SmackDown Championship at SummerSlam. So, Richard, what are your thoughts on Asuka doing double duty at SummerSlam?
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I didn't predict it, so it's plus, if they're going to do this Payback pay-per-view a week later, then it makes sense that you would have it split up like that.
Yeah.
Because if Asuka's going to get the spotlight, and it kind of looks like Asuka's probably going to come out Asuka 2 belts.
Yeah.
So, I'm for it.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, listen, I saw people online complain, like, what? Asuka's won the Battle Royal, now she's going to get 2 matches at SummerSlam? Way to go to blow it. You could have easily given the opportunity to someone else and develop another star or give someone else an opportunity.
Asuka's just, the last few weeks we've talked about this.
Yes.
Asuka's now someone that no matter where she's going or doing, people are complaining no matter what she's doing.
Yeah.
Or how she's being used.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at the big picture. They look at it so micro. They look at it as what they're seeing right there, but what's it going to be down the line? And then they don't come back around and say, oh, I was wrong. The build-up turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, like,
because it's not about that moment. It's about the moment at the end of the story.
Yes. Like, here's the thing. Look at the current storyline in the main event women's scene right now. You have Asuka, you have Bayley, and Sasha. Let's look at the story here. And this is for anyone who's upset that Asuka is going to have 2 matches at SummerSlam. I love it. I'm with you, Richard. I love this moment. I love that the story that they're telling here. Because listen, let's keep in mind what happened a couple weeks ago. We saw Asuka taking on Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship. She saw her best friend, Kairi Sane, getting beat up in the back by Bayley. Bayley was throwing Kairi Sane against the garage door. Kairi Sane was screaming in pain, Asuka, like, come save her. Asuka sacrificed herself and left the Raw Women's Championship match, ultimately losing it to Sasha Banks, to go save her friend, to go be a good person. She ran to the back. She saw Kairi Sane passed out, knocked out on the ground. She's holding her, and she's screaming, just furious that they just, beat the crap out of her best friend. And now her best friend had to retire. And we all know, really, she's moving back to Japan. But nonetheless, these 2 evil people took out her best friend. So she wants revenge now. She wants payback, no pun intended, for what they did to her best friend. And what better way to do that is to take the 2 things that they love the most. Let's look at Bayley and Sasha. What are the 2 things that's probably their most prized possession? It's
gold.
It's the gold. It's the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. So what better way to get the ultimate payback from Asuka's storytelling here is to defeat both of them in the same night, take back both titles, and become a double champion. That is ultimate storyline right there. Ultimate way to tell this great revenge story here. I love it. So I don't know why anyone is complaining, oh, you sacrifice an opportunity to build a new main eventer just to give Asuka another match. Like, no, that's the main event storyline.
Now you're making Asuka, for all the complaints that Asuka was handed the belt.
Yes.
And the Money in the Bank match.
Yes.
Now she can beat 2 of the top women for their belts.
Exactly.
And say that she is the best because everyone knows she's the best.
Exactly. She's one of the best workers ever. And here's the other thing, too.
Men or women.
Yeah. That's the thing. Keep in mind, like, for the longest time, Asuka was amazing on NXT. I mean, obviously she was amazing in Japan, amazing in NXT. She was this dominant force. And then when she came to the main roster, we were all worried that she was going to cool off and never be that same person again. But here we are. We're on the verge of seeing her return to that. But I think she's had an amazing run on the main event scene, or Raw and SmackDown.
To your point, we're about to see Vince McMahon put the rocket on her.
Yeah. Like, this is to me the ultimate sign that Vince and Bruce Pritchard or whoever the powers that be behind the scenes is finally putting all in on Asuka. I love that, this potential here. And this shows that Vince or whoever is like, yep, Asuka has that it factor too. So let's go ahead and crown that. And what better way to cap off this revenge storyline by taking away the championships from the two people that hurt her best friend. It's awesome storytelling. And here's the thing, you can't, like, sure, you
it's
can...
long-term booking, too,
yes.
because Sasha and Bayley have been doing that. It's like, if you complain that one of the best storylines ever is Hogan and Macho Man, right?
Yep.
And the lust in his eyes. But that's also a storyline that went further than that, because it was Macho Man leaving Liz, and then Liz coming back.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one complains about like them being separated because he's with Sherry and whatever, and now Asuka's in this thing. Yeah. And no matter what she does, they're complaining. And it's like, shut up and just enjoy what you're watching.
I know. I love this storyline right now because Bayley and Sasha are like the two heel champions that you love to hate, and you want to see them lose their championships. And Asuka, if she defeats both of them in the same night, she's going to have the ultimate babyface momentum moving forward, and she can say, like, I'm the most dominant force in the women's division right now. Listen, we know Becky Lynch is going to be gone for a long time. Charlotte, she's MIA still, doing whatever she wants to do, taking time off. Good for her. She's earned it. Asuka is the face of the women's division now, and this what better way to really seal that by letting her win this? And this is her time to shine, and she totally can hold down the fort while those others are gone.
And Asuka can say that Asuka's the first person to beat all four of the four horsewomen for world titles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because she beat Charlotte and Becky in the ladder match in San Jose.
Yeah.
And then she'd be able to beat Sasha and Bayley in one night.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. And she also beat Becky too, right? At Royal Rumble. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude,
the
that's
Royal
awesome.
Rumble that Becky then jumped in and won.
And listen, I know a lot of people thought Asuka kind of cooled off when she got to Raw and SmackDown, and she did for a bit. But she also, keep in mind, she still won the SmackDown Championship, she still won the Raw Championship, and she won the Women's Tag title. So she still won gold.
People also need to realize that if you're in NXT and you're getting a really good push, you're a big fish in a small pond.
True.
Because it's I think people kind of get lost and think that, well, it's the third brand. It is the third brand, but it's not in arenas every week. It's not getting the same ratings that Raw and SmackDown do.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I love this story. And listen, you cannot, okay, I'm trying to, say this carefully. Sure, you could put the rocket on people and try to make them stars overnight or try to force it. But realistically, the majority of the time, it takes time to build up people. And so I know people are upset, oh, you could use this Battle Royal to have someone upcoming win that and give them an opportunity to get the title match and build up another star. It takes time to build up your next set of stars. In the moment right now, what's selling? It's Asuka. She's the best in that division. You focus on her. And I'm sorry for everyone else in that match who was just, there just to help put Asuka over. But that's the point of this story right now. I know some people want Rhea Ripley in that match and let her win. No, she's busy. She got her own storyline on NXT with Mercedes Martinez. I'm just saying Rhea Ripley will have her time. And plus she had a WrestleMania match earlier this year anyway. So
the best match on WrestleMania.
Yeah, against Charlotte. So. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, there is plenty of time to build up future stars. And like I said, it takes time. So you got to be patient with that. But nonetheless, in the moment right now, this is Asuka's time to shine. I love that she won, and I think it's going to be a great story if she walks out of SummerSlam with both titles. Bayley and Sasha are going to be upset, crying that they lost. And this is ultimate payback and revenge in Kairi Sane's honor. It adds to that. But then also for Asuka, she can walk around, maybe she comes up with a new nickname for herself, Asuka 2 belts, something like that. But then this could also add the tension between Bayley and Sasha for them to break up. because that's been the long rumor that they're going to break up and they're going to try to recreate their old takeover match. And who knows, maybe they'll defend the women's tag titles the following weekend, lose them there, and that's eventually will piss them off from one another, and they'll turn on each other, and eventually they'll have their one-on-one match down the road. So I'm saying this is all steps for long-term storytelling. Like, I don't know why people are freaking out about that battle royal and who won. I loved it. So harumph. Sorry, I know it's a long rant there. All right.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on. So we saw Mandy Rose cut a promo. We saw Sonya Deville cut a promo. They're going to have a hair versus hair match at SummerSlam, which I think Sonya Deville is losing, right? Mandy Rose is not shaving her head or anything. I think Sonya's going to get a haircut, and I think she's going to turn into some badass look to kind of really add to her like MMA badass kicking ass vibe. So
is she going to look like what's her name when she was part of CM Punk's stable?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, but nonetheless, I think Sonya Deville could totally rock like a short haircut or a bald look and look at like a total
straight edge
badass
society.
Yeah, I'm all for that. We saw AJ Styles come to the ring with an assistant helping him out.
A very familiar face.
Yes, it was the return of Joseph Park,
Abyss,
aka Abyss from TNA. So yeah, Richard, your thoughts on just seeing Joseph Park appear in WWE television?
I thoroughly enjoyed this entire segment. It felt like watching TNA in 2005. It was great.
That's what I was totally thinking.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they didn't really. I mean, they said his name was Joseph Park, but
well, the former tag team champions together too, so they naturally have chemistry together.
Totally. I mean, they have a long history, so I think for any of us marks out there, we all geeked out pretty hard seeing, oh my God, it's Abyss on WWE. And
he looked so big when he was walking to the ring and passing people by. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how tall he is.
Yeah, Tommy and I, we saw him at Big Time Wrestling years ago. And we went to Hooters afterwards, and he came walking in with Dustin Rhodes, right?
Yeah, and he was just, hanging out. I think he was signing a few autographs.
That was cool. It was very cool. But anyway, it's cool. For anyone who doesn't know, Abyss has been working for WWE for a while now as a producer. Yeah. So he's been there. And so
along with the other guy that came from TNA.
Yeah.
Sanjay Dutt.
Yeah. So, but did AJ explain what was Joseph Park's role in all this? Like, who was he?
He's his assistant.
Just helping him with the presentation.
Yeah.
So he comes out, and long story short, he has like a list of people who deserve to fight him, wrestle him for the IC title, and reveals it's no one. He says, I beat everyone. No one can challenge on my level. What was it called? The Phenomenal...
I don't even remember. That was so convoluted.
But the point of it, in short, it's spelled out piss, PISS. It was piss.
Yeah.
So
he's like telling everyone, shut up.
I would love to see Joseph Park continue to help AJ out, like as a manager.
I think that's what we're gonna see.
Okay,
I'm all for it.
I think without the Good Brothers there, and everyone knows that AJ wasn't happy about that. Now he's got another friend he can come out there with. So,
yeah, totally.
And I'm for it.
Yeah, and then we saw Jeff Hardy come out and cut a promo and says like, "This is a matchup everyone wants to see," and pretty much challenged him and wrote his name on the big whiteboard and made Sharpie because the following segment. AJ was trying to wipe it off, and it wasn't. He was pissed off, and Joseph Park was like making a weird face, like "uh-oh." So
use a Sharpie.
So we're gonna get that matchup next Friday on SmackDown. I'm guessing it's gonna be a wonky finish, and it's gonna lead to an actual like big match at SummerSlam or Payback. Yeah, it's gonna be. This is the beginning of their new rivalry. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And then a couple things. So we saw Retribution early in the night interfere between Big E and John Morrison's match, and then they came out later in the night when Big E and John Morrison were trying to have a second match, a make good match. And all the wrestlers surrounded the ring. And we saw Retribution. They were attacking refs and people in the back, throwing people on tables. There was a guy taking a dump on the toilet. They opened the door and closed it, put a chair under to lock him in. Poor guy.
Yeah, I saw that.
So Retribution, once again, doing their thing, creating some havoc on SmackDown.
I made out 3 of them.
Okay, who are the 3?
Vanessa Bourne.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea Green. Mm-hmm. She was the first. She was the one that jumped up on the ring first.
Yeah, that's what I thought so too. The taller one.
Yeah, for that one, I just noticed. Like, I recognized the way she climbed in the ring.
Yeah.
and Santana Garrett was on top of the announcer's desk.
Interesting.
Recognized
Okay.
the tips.
And we saw a tall guy in there, so I think that might be Dominic Dijakovic as well.
Could be. Could
now,
be.
let me ask you, someone told me maybe, or maybe was it you? No, it was you, Richard. Sorry, you texted me and you said...
I think it's an NXT invasion.
Okay.
Because no one's... This has gone on for 2 weeks now, and no one's been attacked on NXT.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing's gone wonky on NXT. They're clearly NXT people, and there's clearly people that we've seen every week in attendance around the ring that aren't there anymore.
Right.
Like Santana Garrett.
Ciampa.
Okay, let me ask you this, though. What could be the point of this invasion that's different than what we saw at Survivor Series?
It's going to lead into the next Survivor Series.
Okay.
Yeah, that could work.
Because that's the next big pay-per-view after SummerSlam.
Yeah.
The big four.
Okay. I'm just kind of trying to see. Yeah, I could potentially see that. So I'm kind of curious what be the motivation for invading these shows are if you're in NXT.
Well, they've taken over their facility.
Ah, okay.
That's true.
And that's why they're going to force them to the home of the Orlando Magic now.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, no, but nonetheless.
It could be.
Yeah.
So I mean, I thought this appearance on SmackDown was a little bit better than last week as far as them. They seemed a little more ruthless, and they weren't as being just cheerful, like, yay, we did it, we did this or that, we broke this. They were a little bit more aggressive, I thought, and kind of a little more scary. But nonetheless, so I still want to be hopeful. I want to be optimistic that this is going to lead to something really cool. I know it's getting a lot of flack online, and other shows are talking about it. I want to be hopeful that something good can really come from this.
They're putting a lot into this, though, time and effort and destruction. So I don't think it's going to be, Bo Dallas running this rogue group of people.
Yeah.
They've got a plan as to who this is, and we don't know who it is. I love the mystery of trying to figure out who some of these guys are, because you're right, there was a bigger guy this week that could have been Dominic Dijakovic.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be certain, because it's like he's so covered up.
Yeah.
Like the women were easier because their hair was out, and which I thought was interesting, because other weeks you could tell they were trying very hard to cover that up.
Yeah.
And this week it was a little more loose. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how this plays out.
You got to let it marinate.
Yeah. You got to be patient here. If you want some good storytelling, you gotta let this play out and see how it's gonna be revealed. All right, so the last segment of the night was Braun Strowman, Alexa Bliss, the Fiend segment here.
Yep.
So we saw Alexa Bliss come out earlier in the night. She had like a one-on-one interview, and the interview was trying to question their history, and then they used some old footage of their time together on the mixed match challenge.
Yep.
And led to the interviewer asking Alexa Bliss, you guys are friends, but is there something more here? Can you guys romantically be involved? And she said, there could have been an opportunity maybe for that. So just trying to kind of add fuel to the fire that maybe they could have been an item at some point, or that could still be the case. So then later on, Braun comes to the ring and he starts kind of promo about The Fiend and Bray Wyatt. Alexa Bliss comes out. She wants some questions, which, by the way, Braun Strowman, I guess, doing his best to cosplay as Gene Snitsky now. Snitsky, like, shaved his head, got the beard going. I noticed that's like a thing now. Like, a lot of these wrestlers, you want to look badass, you just shave your head and just grow a big beard.
Which is stupid, because you should be doing it for a hair versus hair match.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So, Braun comes out with a new look and kind of a whole new persona. He's like, big evil monster now, and Alexa's trying to talk to him, but he won't look at her in the eyes, and Alexa's like, what's wrong with you? And this is not you. And she starts slapping him, trying to put some common sense in him,
right?
Wake him up, and he wasn't really responding.
Right.
She's really stealing the show with being involved in these now.
Yeah, like, I'm actually starting to care about this rivalry now.
Yeah.
And ultimately, Braun picks her up and was like threatening to throw her. And then when he's like, he was holding her and calling out The Fiend, like, come out now, come out to the ring. And he finally throws her, but then the lights turn out black. Lights come back on. Braun's gone. The room is lit up red. The Fiend's in the ring. Alexa Bliss is laying there. And then we see Braun on the jumbo screen kind of calling out the Fiend and like going back and forth. So, Richard, I'm confused. Who's the babyface and who's the heel in this? They're both acting kind of heelish.
I don't think there is a babyface. I mean, you would assume it's somewhat Braun. I also think Alexa Bliss is about to turn heel again.
I will admit, I do like, I think Corey Graves or someone acknowledged, whoever faces the Fiend and loses, you become a changed person. And then even Braun Strowman acknowledged in the ring, he's like, after losing to you at the Swamp, I became a changed person. So, and that's something I'm trying to follow along. Like, okay, look at Finn Balor. He lost to
Bray's done that throughout his career, because if you remember the first time he wrestled John Cena had that dilemma, do I throw the steps at him or not?
Yeah.
Then the second match that they had, he threw the steps. Mm-hmm. And it was just because he kept pushing John harder and harder. And it's just like, oh, he's a diabolical bastard.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like I'm starting to connect the dots as far as the Fiend's during his existence in the last year, which we're at the 1 year anniversary of his first appearance last SummerSlam against Finn Balor. So Finn Balor lost. He went away. He came back to NXT and was kind of a heel out the gate. Okay, Look at Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins lost to the Fiend. He became a heel and became the Monday Night Messiah. Daniel Bryan, he fought the Fiend and ultimately lost his hair and dropped the whole People's Champ, or no, sorry, not People's Champ, the Earth's Champ, right? Is that what it was?
Planet's
Champion. The Miz, nothing really came of that whole rivalry.
Well, he didn't face the Fiend.
Oh, that's right. He just faced Bray Wyatt.
Firefly Funhouse Wyatt.
And then, so I get the connecting the dots now. Anytime someone loses to the Fiend, you become a changed person. So Braun, he's now this new monster again after losing to the Fiend at the Swamp. So I'm kind of curious how this is going to play out. Is Alexa Bliss going to help Braun win at SummerSlam by defeating the Fiend?
She's going to help Bray, I think, for sure.
Because she said in her...
There was a moment earlier in SmackDown, too, that I thought was worth taking a note on, and it was with her and Nikki Cross. And she was acting so strange with Nikki. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I was just like, oh, man, I know where this is going.
Okay.
And it's going to be good.
Well, I mean, she said in her interview, she said, like, being around the Fiend, you're scared, but then you're also very drawn to him. Very much like, now she understands the whole saying, moth into the flame. So... I'd be curious how this play out. Yeah, does Alexa Bliss help the Fiend and ultimately win, or does she help Braun and like brings Braun back to normal, like redeems him? I don't know. So I'm very much intrigued in this storyline. I thought the last two matches were okay, but now for this trilogy to wrap up this rivalry, I'm really excited to see how SummerSlam's going to play out for the two of them and Alexa Bliss's involvement. So a lot of good stuff there. So. Whew, what a week it was in pro wrestling. A lot of stuff we covered. So on, like I said, this week on Wrestling TV. So, all right, as always, let's get out of here for tonight. But first things first, Richard, do you want to quickly go down our list again?
Yeah, what do you guys, what's your match of the week and your show of the week?
Tommy, do you have one?
My show of the week was NXT. And my match of the week, it's a toss-up between Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens on Raw or Bronson Reed versus Damian Priest. But I got to go with Bronson Reed versus Damian Priest as my match of the week.
Okay. I'm going to go with, NXT as well. Very stacked match. AEW was a little flat, and I talked about that on the previous episode. But yeah, I'm with you. Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, but also because it led to that great promo back and forth between Randy Orton and Ric Flair. Oh, so good. So that's my picks. How about you, Richard?
My match of the week, I'd say Damian Priest and Bronson Reed.
Okay.
And my show of the week was Raw. Because I enjoyed the Raw Underground stuff.
Okay.
And for a 71-year-old Ric Flair to cut a promo that nearly brings me to tears.
Yeah. That was, so good.
Yeah. I chat with one of my Instagram followers, Silky Slim. Had a great quote for Randy Orton about Randy Orton, and he said that Randy Orton's mastered his persona, and I have to agree because this is the best Randy Orton I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I love the Legend Killer thing, loved him with Legacy, Evolution. This is the best he's ever been, and it's scary how good he is.
Oh yeah.
And it's scary as far as, sure, he's been in the business for 20 years. but he still has easily like 5 more good years left in him still.
Absolutely.
So it's amazing how much is left in the tank still. So this could be the beginning of a great third run. I don't know what you want to call it at this part of his career, but just a finale of his career for the next few years. So exciting stuff. So very good. And did you say okay? Oh, and do you have a match of the week? Oh, you said Bronson Reed and Damian Priest as well. Yeah, so it's very good. So all right, let's go home for tonight. Richard, where can the Kliqsters find you online?
Well, you can find me on Instagram and Instagram only at pro_wrestling_101. And please give Bounty Hunter Brothers a follow. They do our opening theme. You can find them on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Tommy, where can the Kliqsters find you?
You can always find me on Twitter and Instagram at IronFist1982.
And I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. And if you're listening to this episode right now, go back, listen to our last 2 episodes. I uploaded my interview with Evan Husney, one of the creators of Dark Side of the Ring. Very fun conversation there. So please check that out. And check out Dark Side of the Ring. It's streaming now on Hulu as well. So congrats to them for that big achievement. Also, the last episode with Philip from the Bullcast, we talked about Raw and AEW, so check that out as well. And remember, please follow at In The Kliq on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, emails anytime, inthetliq@gmail.com. And we'll catch you next week. So next week, it's going to be a busy week. We got TakeOver, we got SummerSlam to do all those reviews. So a lot of good stuff coming up this week. So it's going to be a lot of fun. On that note, let's get out of here. And that's the bottom line, because Huey said so.